there is no magic wand, unfortunately. I mean, these are issues we've had to grapple with. They're created over a period of time, a long period of time. And all we can do is try to use techniques, tools, which we believe are taking us in the direction and moderate the concerns that we've all heard today. And I say that we've already begun to see shifts in a positive direction. Indeed, they have already started yielding early results with significant interest from foreign portfolio investors, which was a concern, that have already begun to supply the much needed foreign exchange to the economy. For example, upwards of the past few days, we have had over $1 billion that have come into the market, over $1 billion. And this, quite frankly, is the answer to the question, because the question was raised as to how do we know that your policies are working? And in fact, we were challenged to say that in fact they are not. And I would argue that with the numbers speaking and saying what is going on, the market has been responding to the policies that we have put in place. Our measures aimed at improving US dollar supply into the Nigerian economy has significant potential in taming the volatility of the exchange rates and in turn moderating inflation. However, for these measures to be sustainable, we must as a country moderate our demand for foreign exchange. And distinguished members, I could not re-emphasize this. You see, there's so much the central bank can do with tools. We are working very hard. We're working very hard to bring back credibility to the central bank and to bring back credibility to many of the investors that have decided over the years, because of policies that were not inimical, to go elsewhere. Because with investors, I always say that investors go to where the environment is enabling. You don't have to beg anyone. You really don't have to beg. If you're doing the right things, investors will come. And I couldn't agree more, honestly, on the distinguished senator who spoke and emphasized on the issue of transparency. I couldn't agree more. That is what is going to bring the needed inflows into our economy, because for people to invest, they've got to take you seriously and believe that what you say is the right thing and that you're not going to tell them stories anytime after. And that is to also go, and we'll talk about some of the other things in Q&A as well. We'll answer specifically a number of the other issues that aren't covered here. We will do it. We will do it. But I also want to say that in establishing credibility, there are certain things that we needed to do. There are certain things we needed to do. For example, the issue of the past due obligations, the forwards. We needed to ensure that we could deal with them in an open and transparent manner. And it is for that reason we got the highly renowned Deloitte management to come and look at that, and we worked on the outcome of their report. And as I've said earlier, we've already moved towards settling a substantial number, and right now we are down to a more manageable figure. Of course, a lot has been asked with respect to those that were within the infracted category, which we are looking at very closely, and those who are responsible will be sanctioned accordingly. Distinguished senators, we must understand, let me go back. However, for these measures to be sustainable, we must as a country moderate our demand for FX. I think this is very important. Honestly, CBN has no magic wand. We do not have. Our responsibility is in the process. If foreign exchange comes into us, we manage it in a way that is in best interest of the country, and we do not have excessive volatility. Okay, that's one. Our argument on the demand side is that we as Nigerians also must work together to moderate demand. Where there are opportunities for us to substitute locally, so we should. A couple of days ago, I made reference to the fact that a substantial amount of our foreign exchange over the course of the past few years had gone into medical and education, okay? And that in fact, the total quantum was more than our reserves. And I said that to prick people's minds and to start to think, well, maybe there are things we could do differently. Maybe there are things we can do differently. There was a lot of buzz on the social media. Oh, he's saying this, that he's saying he doesn't want. That's not my point. The market will always determine what is what. But I do believe that if we are able to up our game in the area of medical, education, the need for people to go abroad and spend so much money will not arise. It will not. And I must also say that I was very encouraged also by some very top people in the private sector who I don't even know from anywhere, and who sent me messages to say, look, we heard your statement, and we went back to think that maybe the way we as an enterprise are embracing foreign goods and foreign products, and perhaps, the need to go and do certain, to go and spend certain amounts of money in foreign countries, we can do the same thing here. We don't have to every time get up and go to the UK or to the United States. Let's put together a committee to start saying, well, look, how do we moderate these things? How do we moderate them? Because every single one has a responsibility, and no amount is too small. Distinguished senators, we must understand that the genuine issue impacting the exchange rate is the simultaneous decrease in the supply of and increase in the demand for US dollars. It is also clear that the task of stabilizing the exchange rate, while an official mandate of the CBN, would necessitate efforts beyond the bank itself, which is exactly what I'm saying. It will also include actions by corporates and individuals to reduce our frequent demand for the dollar for business and for personal needs. I would like to underscore the importance of the ongoing collaboration between the fiscal and monetary authorities, and particularly progress made on tackling a number of issues challenging our economy today. I couldn't overemphasize this. The ministry, we are constantly in touch with the ministries of budget and planning, and of course the Ministry of Finance, and more recently also the Ministry of Agric. We consider our function, in addition to everything else, as being advisors to government. And we are right now trying to strengthen that capacity to ensure that at the end of the day we can provide that creditably. The movement, the further collaboration between NMPC and the central bank is also a major step in that direction. And we're very happy that we have that opportunity to be of service to NMPC. And we also recognize that in keeping with that relationship, so also the challenge to ensure that we can meet all their demands at all points in time is heightened. In conclusion, distinguished senators, we understand the economic costs of these developments, not just for the economy, but also as they affect the ordinary Nigerians. And I always say this, monetary policies are no monetary policies if they do not impact the people down the line, there are no monetary policies. So we must bear this in mind anytime we are putting the monetary policy tools into effect. And I have absolutely no doubt that with the MPC meeting that is going to take place at the end of February, it will be clear of the direction that the monetary policy is going. However, as I have mentioned in previous engagement, these costs are temporary, and our decisions will address a lot of fundamental issues bothering Nigeria's macroeconomic landscape and ultimately put us on a surer path to prosperity. What do I mean by this in addition to everything else? It is that the monetary side can do so much. The fiscal side also has a major part to play. The monetary side does help in cushioning the volatilities, but ultimately a lot of the things that have been said by the honorable ministers today, as they begin to kick in, it will moderate the inefficiencies in our system, I believe. I look forward to providing more of the answers. I will be providing more of the answers that haven't been touched here between my colleague here, the Deputy Governor of Economic Policy, and myself. We'll do that right away. So, yeah.
Thank you, Governor. Excellencies, Joint Chairs, distinguished senators, good morning. I'll be taking a few of the questions that were raised, and particularly not in any order. First is the issue of the 43 items. I think this has come up a number of times, and when we resumed at the bank, we realized that the bank had been involved in a number of areas which were not really central banking. One of it is trade policy. Central banks do not have responsibility, distinguished senators, for trade policy. Trade policy is a fiscal issue, and what happened was that 43 items were identified and denied foreign exchange. They were not banned. They were never banned from the borders. So what these 43 items were was actually 936 products from the HS code, and what it resulted in was that the items actually never stopped being imported, but the country collectively lost $1.4 billion between 2015 and 2019 because of the FX ban of these particular items. The second part is that they actually fueled inflation because it increased the prices of these products. And when we got in, we wanted to, as much as possible, ensure that the market is functioning. And many of the distortions that were present in the market was what we wanted to remove. And so this issue we discussed with the fiscal authorities, and our understanding is that there is a process now going through all these items to actually identify which ones need trade action and which ones do not. So that is on the first point. The second point is on the foreign exchange backlogs. In September, there was discussions around $7 billion of FX backlog transactions that the CBN was obligated to pay. In some international conversations, it was taken up to all the way to $10 to $11 billion. So when we went in, the first position was to ascertain how much is this exactly. And when after ascertaining, we commenced a process where we said, okay, look, how do you settle these forwards in a way that is fair? The forwards came about by every month or so, the CBN would do auctions for foreign exchange. These auctions allowed customers to bid through their banks. The banks would submit the quotes, but the transactions had to be trade-backed, meaning that you either had to have a Form A or a Form M. So a lot of these transactions were then, starting from 2021, 22, and 23, were the ones that were outstanding. We started a process, and then we engaged the banks to actually discuss this issue. And the banks themselves told us that there was a point where you would get called by the CBN to say you've been awarded $10 million, $20 million without really any documentation. So it raised an alarm bell with us, and we immediately engaged Deloitte Consulting to forensically verify these things. And what came out was a number of infractions. Infraction number one was where customers who had not even bid for anything would get allocated $5 million or $10 million, and those were documented. The other infraction was where customers who had bid for $200,000 would get $10 million awarded. The other infraction was for customers who were importing banned items, but these items would be brought in. So all these infractions had been tabulated, and what we have now done is we've written to the banks to say, explain these processes, because we have to give that right of reply. Many of them have responded, and this is the process that we are now going through these responses and ensuring that what we are going to pay is going to be what is valid, and then for the rest of it, we will discuss with law enforcement on how to take this forward. In terms of investments, the governor has already talked about it, but let me just say one quick thing. At this time last year, the foreign exchange market, NAFEM, the official market, was trading $16 million a day. At high points, $40 million. In fact, as recent as 3 months ago, the highest traded was about $110 million. For the past 2 weeks now, the least that has been traded in the Nigerian foreign exchange market has been $400 million, which was even $500 million yesterday. So supply is coming back to the market in terms of FX. In terms of the other parts of supply, distinguished senators, we're working on the remittances with IMTOs. Last year, IMTOs brought back $3.2 billion to the country. In truth, the amount is closer to $18 to $20 billion. But the reason why this never shows up in the official statistics is because of the policies that CBN put in that capped how they could cost it between 2.5% plus or minus. We've removed that, and we had a meeting with them yesterday, and we can see the flows already picking up. In terms of inflation, I believe the governor has answered quite a bit of it, but the issue with inflation is that what we're now witnessing, in November, inflation actually reduced, core inflation. The rate at which it was increasing actually went down. What happened was that in December, it went back up, and usually in December, inflation takes up because of the festivities. We are hoping that over the next 2 quarters, we will be able to get inflation down to, as the governor has said, sub 22%, 21.3%. So I think I'll stop here, except if there's any particular questions that we have missed, and we can take it subsequently. Thank you.
Let's let senators who came later to introduce themselves. Please, let's start from that. We will talk.
Mr. Chairman, our guest, my name is Aminu Abbas, Senator representing Adamawa Central District, Adamawa State, a member of the committee.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleague, or invited guests, my name is David Yesu Junkucha, representing the good people of Taraba South. I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, our invited guests. My name is Dr. Tony Ngoyi, representing Anambra North Senatorial District, a member of committee. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, our invited guests, members of the press, my name is Senator Engineer Kenneth Eze. I represent the good people of Ebonyi Central Senatorial Zone. I'm a member of the 2 committees. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, my name is Idiat Oluroti Adebule. I represent the good people of Lagos West. Thank you.
Distinguished Chairman and co-chairman, distinguished colleagues, our guests, I'm Senator Jarigbe Agom Jarigbe. I represent Cross River North.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished senators, invited guests, my name is Jide Ikpinjagba from Ondo North Senatorial District.
am Senator Yemi Adarabudu. I represent Ekiti South Central District of Ekiti State. I am seriously here.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, my name is Senator Mohammed Ugushi Onao. I represent Nasarawa South.
Mr. Chairman, invited.
Abdul Ahmed Ningi, representing Bauchi Central, Bauchi State, a member of the committee.
Henry Siraka Dixon, Bayelsa West, Bayelsa State. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Dandus Muntar Mohammed, member of both the two committees.
Mr. Chairman, invited guests, my name is Senator Lawal Adamu Usman. I'm the Vice Chairman of this committee.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Senator Ned Nwoko, representing Delta North, Delta State. Thank you.
Introduce yourself first.
Thank you very much, my colleagues. Yeah. Thank you very much, my colleagues, our invited guests. I remain sincerely yours. Adeola Solomon Olamilekon. I represent the good people of Ogun West Senatorial District, and I chair the Senate Committee on Appropriation. Good morning. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, our invited guest.
Brief and ask questions directly.
Okay, I will be very brief.
Very brief, please.
Let me start with the Agric, Ministry of Agric. I will start by commending the government in taking the proactive action and measures to address the food shortages through the composition of the committee and also giving directive of release of about 102 metric tons from the food reserve, because this is what Nigeria needs now. And all suggestions that have been put forward by my colleagues is for the future and going into the future, and it is expected that the Ministry of Agriculture should swing into action and ensure all these suggestions are duly given attention. Having said that, let me also add that there is need for us to provide security to our farmland, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. A lot of these farmers are no longer going to their farms due to insecurity. So this is one area that I want us to look into by providing adequate security measures across the farmland across the country, especially those that are big ones, to address this problem of food shortages. Because nobody will go to any farm that is not secured. Nobody. So we should please look towards that direction. So any planning we are doing in the area of increasing the food production or whatsoever, security should also form part of the strategy. To the central bank governor, I have listened with rapt attention. Yes, to some of your comments, I'm happy with what I'm hearing. Because in the past, I continue to wonder the kind of intervention being rendered by central banks. For instance, the National Art Theatre, Central Bank is paying millions of dollars to take over National Art Theatre. At a point, they are the major producer of rice in Nigeria, Central Bank. They call it an intervention program. And so many other interventions that are unwarranted. So listening to you today saying that you are taking your hands off all those kind of intervention and playing more of advisory role, I think is the right step in the right direction. Also, you talked about transparency. I want to plead with you that the budget of central bank must be submitted before the National Assembly. That is where the transparency begins. That is where the transparency begins. In the past, the former central bank governor will be running from pillar to post when we asked for the budget of the central bank. And we were told that about 2.3 or 2.4 trillion naira is the budget size every financial year. And I believe that, I haven't spoken about transparency and saying that you totally agreed. I think that is one step that we should look at. Again, I want you to tell Nigerians, when are we going to see the effect of all these efforts that you have put into trying to reduce the effect of this forex or the exchange rates? I quite agree with you. We are now living normal Nigeria. In the past, we are borrowing money to suppress dollars, doing window dressing. So this single action of rate unification that is causing all this inconsistency we are seeing, this is the real Nigeria. I can vividly recollect the former central bank governor, in one of his engagements with me, he told me that he's doing a lot to ensure that the dollar does not increase. He's pressing it. And doing that, he was borrowing any available fund from everywhere to suppress dollar from going up. Now, this administration has said, I can no longer do that. I don't want to do that, to borrow to suppress. Let dollar float on the normal rate. And that is the challenges we are facing. Because then we are doing window dressing. Now we are where we're supposed to be. But the only thing I quite agree, and everybody have also raised it, that we must provide the shock absorber to reduce this pain on Nigerians. And that is what all of us collectively must now look into. How do we address this situation? Since most of what we do in the past have been predicated on dollars and not on naira. You said something about education, that if we can do so much in the education, we'll be able to address the issue of students traveling abroad. Albert Igwe University just brought out their list of payment. It's $12,000. It was advertised in the newspaper, on the TV. The total tuition fee, $12,000 in Nigeria, where we only spend naira and kobo. So when we are doing more in this regard, we must look at it and do it holistically to address this issue and strategies we are talking about. To the Minister of Finance, in rounding up, I want to strongly... No, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. As a chairman, that's why I'm using the opportunity. Now to the Minister of Finance, I want us to appeal. All we need is synergy between the monetary and the financial policy. Once the synergy is there, our issue or our problem will be reduced to the barest minimum. Because at every point in time, joint decision, joint policy making, and everything will take place. The CBN has admitted to the fact that they want to only play advisory role, while the coordinating minister will now be in charge to direct the affairs and give direction to the economy. So, once again, I want to thank you, my other chairman, and other members of the committee for giving me this platform to express myself. Thank you very much.
You came late. Let somebody was on the line, please.
Shoaib Falabi Salisu is my name. I'm from Ogun Central Senatorial District.
You will talk.
Let me start by saying...
Let's be brief and to the point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Let me start by saying that those who have the responsibility to manage the Nigerian economy at this point, they have my sympathies. If you do, you are damned. Meaning, if you are left, if you have continued from what you inherited, you are damned. If you also do as we have done, you are also still damned. But that is the price of leadership. I have just one question and 3 short comments. My colleagues have spoken about a number of economic issues, the reserve of the country, the MPC rate. But my people in Abeokuta and their counterparts in Ajaokuta and those in Jalingo, they do not care about the MPC rate that is coming up in February. They are not at home with nuances of the foreign reserve. The question they want me to ask the economic team, where will this pain subside? Despite the best effort that you're doing, the question they want is, when will this pain when will this begin to materialize in their welfare and their well-being? 3 short comments. Number 1, what we have not seen is unified communication. If I'm not a senator with the opportunity of seeing the ministers and the CBN governor addressing the issue together, what you hear is the CBN governor making some pronouncement, very thoughtful pronouncement on Arise. The Honorable Minister will also address the issue of physical. The Minister of Agriculture will say his own. When would the economic team come together as one team and address the nation together? Not in happenstance, not in public settings like this, when they will come out together and say we want to address the country on the challenges of our economy and what we are doing to address them. The second comment is also the fact that having this conversation in the chambers of National Assembly is important. It is good. But we need to also take this conversation down to the people who are feeling the pain. We need to find a way of communicating to our people at the grassroots, at the local level. We need to take this conversation to the state, to the zonal level, for people to understand what our issues are and what they're expected to do and what we are doing about it. And finally, Honorable Minister of Budget, finally,
yes, please.
The 2024 budget that we passed by National Assembly, we passed the budget even with the best of efforts. That budget could have experienced more scrutiny than we gave to it because of the short period. Isn't time now for us to begin to look at the budget, identify the priority areas that will give succor and solace to our people, and focus on them both in our implementation and in finance? And luckily the Honorable Minister is also here again. So the question remains, where would this pain subside?
Thank you.
Chairman, distinguished guests, from your presentation, that is the presentation of the CBN governor, it is clear that both yourself and the Minister of the Coordinating Economy are working very well. But it is important for us to be able to reach our people back home. A lot is happening in the country. You can see many people coming out. We can't eat, we can't drink, we can't do this. It is only those of us who are familiar with what you're doing that will be comfortable listening to you and relating with what you are saying. The people back home need to hear from us. They need to be in the same position with us. That is only when they will have hope. Hope that is going to be better. If you look at the valuation of the continuous devaluation of the naira, it's having a lot of impact in the living crisis that is going on in the country. So for us to be able to connect with our people, we must relate with them. We must communicate this work, hard work that you are doing. We must communicate to our people. In the past, I realized there was a time where we had regional briefing, where ministers will go across the region to communicate to the people. They have like a town hall meeting where everybody will go and they will sit and they will hear from the people that are managing the country. And this, in my belief, make them to connect very well with our government. And I think this is something I think we should experiment with, or we should do to be able to communicate to our people what is going on and the hope that is so close to them, so they can be at peace. Thank you, and God. And I must communicate, and I must thank you, appreciate you, that you are open with Nigerians, that you've been very open with Nigeria with what is going on in our economy. That is something that the people appreciate. And on behalf of my people in Lagos West, I thank you for being open with Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My first question is for the CBN Governor. Mr. Governor, when the National Assembly we were making our assumptions for our budget,
please, we don't have that much time. Please be brief.
We said 800 naira to $1. The last time you came to the Senate, we asked you because some people told us, no, it's going to balance around 1,500, 1,700. So people out there believe it's going to be about 1,500. We in government system were saying 800. Now the reality is going to that 1,500. Are we sure some people somewhere are not manipulating the system? No, I have two questions. Second question for the finance minister. Mr. Minister, you are coordinating the economy and everything to do with the economy. Various ministries have various programs they are running. Some of these programs you don't even know whether it will have the required impact. For example, industry through SMEDAN intends to share 50,000 naira for people who wants to do business, who are registered. How much is 50,000 naira going to do big business for anybody, given that 50,000 is barely $30 or less? So how are you coordinating all the programs from all these ministries targeting at the required objective of government? Do you have specific dashboards, your own, that you sit and just watch and say, this is what is happening here, no, let's take a break, no, you can't do that, move this way? We need to know what you are doing about that.
Time up. Co-chair, my question is to the Minister of Agri.
But be short, quick.
Just one question. We usually give incentive to dry season farmers around April, May, sometimes after they are finished farming, after they have harvested their crops. Now you are telling us today again that you are planning to roll out incentive for dry season farmers, of which I know, I'm a farmer, we have finished planting for a long time, we are expected to be harvested by April. April, May, we harvest. Now, why can't we plan? By now, I was thinking that we will plan for rainy season farmers. So by April, May, June, everything will be in place for the rainy season farmers. And then the dry season farmers will start from December. Between December, January, we give them whatever we want to give them. But I'm hearing the same old stories. We'll give them when they don't need it. And then I don't know how we can continue like this. I want you to assure us that planning will begin immediately after the rainy season for dry season farmers. And then after the before the dry season farming ending, we will now give the rainy season farmers incentive so that we'll have much yield that we are expecting in the country.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished senators, and our invited guests, my question goes to the governor of Central Bank. I want to believe that extraordinary problem will require extraordinary solution. The position we find ourselves now is a situation where we need to put in place a solution that is extraordinary. It doesn't take more than a month for dollars to naira to increase astronomically from 750 when we were operating or providing our budget here. From 750 today, we are looking at 1,500. Now, when we get to our people in Owo, my people in Akoko, my people in Ose, they will ask question, when is dollar going to come down to what is appreciable? I want us today, instead of seeing this matter as mere academic exercise, So many presentations have been made here, beautiful one. But we have to look at the implementation. I want us to go out from this auditorium with a categorical answer that in the next 1 month, in the next 2 months, that we are going to work out something that the whole Nigerian will be happy with us. Instead of us coming to say, yes, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. So it is good. So it may look so, this request might look so draconian, but that is the actual fact. We need to talk to our people. Thank you very much.
Round up. Senator Dafinoni. Dafinoni. You want to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. I have just one quick observation, and it rides on the back of the comment made by Senator Sars next to me. The big question is, what is the political impact? I know we're politicians here, but the people at home are hungry and they are tired of sound bites. We really need to give them a clear signal that things are going to get better soon. One such example, if I can posit my own view, is a sustained and substantial appreciation of the Naira that leads Nigerians to know that we are moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Senator Onao.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have just
one question, please.
3 brief questions, please. The Minister of Finance.
Go straight to the question.
We are aware that there is a solid minerals development fund, and consistently, maybe I want to stand up so that you can see me, because I'm short. Consistently, the solid mineral sector has been funded budget-wise, and this is one sector that is supposed to generate huge sums of money for the economy, for Nigeria. What is being done with the solid mineral fund? Because the solid mineral sector is suffering, and we are aware that there are billions of naira, if not dollars, in the account. Year in, year out, nothing has been done for the solid minerals. Then the second question is to the Minister of Agri. It's gladdening to hear that the federal government has said it's going to release tons of grains to cushion the effect of what is currently going on. What measures are being put in place? One, do you have the grains? 2, what measures are being put in place to make sure that this is not being siphoned or taken over by the powers that be in the country? And the central bank governor, I've not heard you, from your speech, I've not heard you give us a short-term, medium-term, and a long-term plan for the stabilization of the forex.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't have actually want to speak, but even here, Your Excellencies, the rhetoric continues, and it is a typical Nigerian thing. I have the nation's financial managers before us, and they are made to look stupid, but they are not. One of the touching points that I have not heard been mentioned either from them or from us is the issue of the criminalization of the dollar. Sir, in the last 10 years, nobody takes bribe buying dollars. Nobody gives bribe buying dollars. Sufficiently, nobody has addressed this in because most of us have been affected because we are involved. Secondly, what guarantee will the CBN give to go back to its core mandate of being banker? The bastardization of the dollar actually starts from the CBN, and because sufficient people that are in government today and in government in the last 2 decades are involved. I have heard the deputy governor mention billions of dollars being swept away through the CBN. And it is lamentation, lamentation, and lamentation. Apart from Emefiele, nobody has been called to account. And if we continue like this, Nigerians are looking at us. We are going nowhere. The fact of the matter is that we must be more accountable, more serious than this. Because it is naive, sir, for us here to raise the issues of monetary and fiscal policies to you. You have the best credentials. We know you. We know where you're coming from. When I sit here and I said I will prepare economic solutions to you, you've been selected because you are the very best that we have at the moment. If I'm here, please let me round up. I'm a senator. I have the privilege to ask this question. To propose solutions to you. I've been naive. I cannot deceive myself. Sirs, the issues of monetary and fiscal policies are minute, very minute to what is happening in this country. The fact of the matter, people are stealing these dollars because they know nothing will happen to them, and it is our responsibility as citizens to come up with solutions. These issues of dollar bribe and dollar taking is from top to bottom.
Time up.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
We don't clap in the Senate.
Yeah, Chairman of the committee.
We don't clap in the Senate.
My own will be straight to the question.
No clapping.
Senator Eze.
And my question goes to the coordinating minister. I'm really forced to ask this question because Nigerians want to take away so much from this meeting going on here. Good 18 is going on live. And we are here hearing the same rhetorics. They want action. And I want to ask, when is our refinery going to start working? One question. Because this will reduce pressure.
You have asked the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When are we going to install flow meters in our refineries to know the quantity of oil we're sending out of this country? You need to tell us when this flow meter is going to be installed. The buyer must not tell us how much, what he's taking away. And finally, to the CBN governor, you just mentioned about education and health taking substantial amount of our dollars. And you didn't say anything on the part of importation because I believe that is where we have problem. Why is our manufacturing sector not working? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and co-chairman. The CBN governor and the Minister of Finance, last week there was a news going around that there are people that took some dollars from the government and they are negotiating to bring back $25 million. Is it true? If it is true, what are you people doing about that? Thank you.
So 1 more minute responses, starting from the minister.
No, it can be 1 minute. Huh? It can be.
Last, please.
Last question here, please.
No, we are going to come to you.
The co-chair, Honorable Minister of Finance and also Coordinating Minister of the Economy. There is so much money going into Federation account now, arising from withdrawal of petroleum subsidy and also the merger of 2 exchange rates. And correspondingly, so much is going into the 3 tiers of government. That is federal government, state government, and local government. And unfortunately, there has not been increase in salaries of workers, salaries or wages of workers. When are we going to have salaries and wages of workers increased in view of the fact that so much quantum is now going into the 3 tiers of government? And related to this question is the concern now in the seaport, particularly on the clearance of imported goods. Virtually every week, the rate for the computation of duty is being changed. It was 420 before, suddenly it came to 720, then now it's 1,440 naira to $1. The rate that is used to compute import duty. And I understand that normally, whenever importers bring their goods, the rate entered in the Form M should be the rate that should be used to calculate the duty. Why is the change now?
Senator Danduze and then Senator Nwoko, Ned Nwoko. Danduze first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My respected colleagues, I'm Senator Danduze Montaru Mohammed from Katsina South. What is fundamental and very important today is to put this nation in a more respective, more responsive approach. CBN governor and the finance minister of this new government, you have a responsibility to tell Nigerians where is the NNPC money is going, because the former governor of Central Bank is always asking on where is the dollars going. So this is one of the challenges we are having now in Nigeria, because this dollarization issue, as a nation that has more than 200 million people, we are not supposed to depend on dollar. We are supposed to stabilize our naira. We are supposed to put value addition to our currency, and if the previous government doesn't have the listening eye, so I believe you have the listening eye now to listen to the people of Nigeria. And it is very fundamental and important, since the Minister of Agriculture is here. Agriculture is a key to success of the economy of this country. If we can be reasonable enough, we will have a food security for this country. We cannot depend on importation. We are supposed to put our economy into an export-oriented economy for the betterment of the yet unborn generation. I think it's a duty, it's a responsibility on us. The budget minister is also here. If you look at the current inflationary problem, I think the budget we have done is as good as a wasted budget, because most of the things has doubled more than 100% or 200%. So it is important you work with the committees, various committees of the legislature, to ensure stability and responsibility of this renewed hope we have as an APC member. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Ned.
Well, I have some general questions, but specifically to the CBN governor first. If you recall, when you were here for your screening and confirmation, I asked a question about interest rates. that was never answered. I hope you have the chance this morning to address it. Why is it that in Nigeria we leave everything to market forces? I know you're probably going to tell me that market forces will determine exchange rates, but it doesn't. It doesn't. We don't really have regulated market forces. What we need to do in Nigeria is what happens in UK and America. The central banks should control interest rates. That is the only way you can create a credit economy, by enabling consumers to borrow. If consumers are not able to borrow, the economy is going to be just the way it is now. So what are you going to do as a governor of central bank to encourage borrowing in Nigeria? That is number one. Number two, there's something that also I find difficult to understand, which is the fact that there are discriminatory payments of salaries in Nigeria. We're talking about not relying on dollars, relying on naira. Why is it acceptable to you or to the finance minister or even to the president that foreign workers in Nigeria are paid in dollars? Foreign contractors in Nigeria are paid in dollars, putting huge weight on the very limited dollar resources. Why does this happen? You can't go to UK or America and experience discriminatory payment in any currency other than the local currency. I think this has to be addressed, and addressed pretty soon, because we've seen it all happen, and I think it is unacceptable. It is discriminatory. It is obnoxious, and it has to stop as quickly as possible. The third question has to do with importation of goods.
Time up.
Why do we, just one more minute please, why do we not consider the fact that time has come to ban the importation of goods and encourage local manufacturing and local production? This is the only way we can grow as a nation. If we keep relying on importation of goods, all goods can be banned. I'm glad, the CBN governor, that you mentioned the problem of capital flight because of medical treatment. That can be banned. Just one announcement from the president of this country that no more medical treatments abroad. And then, of course, but you must make sure that you build up the medical facilities in our hospitals here. That can be done. So why is that not being done? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Last remarks, so that they can just answer them, we close. Senator, you start, or Senator Abiru? Yes, let the co-chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Please,
it's 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My very distinguished colleague, our invited guest. We have listened to everybody. We have listened to the executive and also the legislature. And one thing we want to say is that this is an opportunity for you to address Nigerian. And we have had it. And we have listened with rapt attention. But before I go forward, let me commend the government on some of the initiatives that have recently been carried out, like the single window initiative is a welcome development, and the recent approval given by the NNPC to ensure that all revenues from sales of oil go straight to the Central Bank of Nigeria. These are right steps in the right direction. We want to hear more of this. We want to listen to you. This is going to be a continuous engagement because we are all Nigerians and we deserve to have our countries back. And I want to say that on this side of the divide, we are ready to put out there enabling legislation that will assist this current administration to address all the economic challenges currently confronting us as a nation. Once again, I want to thank you for the opportunity
and said, I wish you a journey mercy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman, and my distinguished colleagues, our invited guests. I will wrap up just like the way I started, which is to acknowledge the fact that part of the challenges that are confronting us today are actually not the making of this current administration. And what this administration is doing is to reorganize or realign all of the distorted macroeconomic indices that should be directing the economy properly. So we salute the courage of the current administration. We know that it also will come with some pains, and that is what we are feeling. And again, even for the economic team, let me start with the comments that we have had from the Minister of Finance and also from the Governor of Central Bank. We salute all of your boldness too and all of the encouragement they are giving in terms of finding solutions. And I must in particular acknowledge part of what I heard from the CBN Governor in terms of the collaboration that we are beginning to see between the monetary and the fiscal side. I think these are exemplified by part of what we see between NNPC and the CBN and all of that, and we believe we should continue to walk along that line. And for me, it is very, very important, because what we expect from a CBN, what the economy expects, is a collaboration that provides a very low rational inflation so that the fiscal side too can continue to go on the path of economic growth. I think that, we need to continue along that trajectory. But I must also, make some points very clear, which are, one, they relate to the questions that I've asked, which I'm not sure were properly or they have been addressed. And they relate to what is expected in an economy, which is how do we moderate inflation? I said in my opening remarks, I made mention of the damage that we have in the variable called ways and means of 30 trillion is a major distortion. Mr. Governor, I didn't get a response for that. You also alluded to the 10 trillion again that also was probably, was abused in terms of interventions and all of that. These are things that are creating the problem around inflation. If we do not have a solution for those things, honestly, we will still be struggling. I need us to really, think deeper about how do we deal with it. It is distorting the computation of the of the inflation index. It is distorting even interest rates in the system, and it is also mounting pressure on the fiscal side. So it's important that we look at it. And lastly, I also think for the Minister of Finance and Minister of Budget, I also think that you should also explain to us, now that the budget is predicated on 800 naira, today it is what we have is about 1,400. The difference, can we also use it to reduce or wind down the deficit in the 2024 budget so that, again, we do not compound the inflation pressure that we have? So on that note, I want to thank all our guests that have been here, and I hope...
The one who will do that.
Okay, you will do that. Okay, Mr. Chairman, so I leave that to you. So, well, on my part, I want to say a big thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
The chairman and co-chairman, my distinguished colleagues, honorable ministers, and our distinguished guests. I think we have spoken, we've heard from the Minister coordinating the economy, we've heard from the Minister of National Planning, Agriculture, and the Governor of Central Bank. I believe that there is hope. The renewed hope mantra that we're talking about, if actually we will put everything we've had here, implementing them, I believe within a very short time we'll be able to at least reach where we want to see ourselves. But yet, I would like the economic team to take this back. The issue of inflation, which the CBN is addressing, I think the CBN need to do more in that aspect. They need to do more. And then the area where we're taking money from NNPC, especially on these forward sales, I think is very detrimental to this country, because at the end of the day, you will see that what the country is getting back or paying back is something huge, which by the time we are paying back that, it does not translate to us getting to fill the gap that we expected to. Because if you look at it today, the $3.3 billion that we have taken, it has not changed anything in terms of the foreign exchange, which it's supposed to. So I don't know where that money goes to. Is it part of the money that is it part of the money that you cleared on that forward obligations that we have? And then the road infrastructure is one area that we must look at in order to solve some of the multiple problems that we're having, especially in prices of food items. Just apart from the subsidy removal, where there is increase in fuel prices, the roads are unmotorable. We need to do something, especially the Abuja, Kaduna, Kano road. We need to complete it. We need to also look at the Niger Bridge. You know, those three critical items, critical projects that a lot of money, Lagos, Ibadan. We've been doing this thing for a very long time. I think there is need for us to do it because more of this money is going. I was given a report from NNPC. From a road of 400 and something, it came to 700 and something. Now they are asking for about 1.8 trillion. We're harming ourselves. So I think the team is all here. I must commend Mr. President because he has taken the bull by the horn in some of the decisions that he has taken in this country. It is left for us to be able to implement those things to reality. So with this, I thank you all, at least, for listening to us. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Well, let me give you one minute to respond to this, 2 minutes, so that we'll round up from there. We start with the Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much. Joint Chairman, distinguished members of these 3 important committees. Let me start by thanking you for this opportunity. And the first thing I will say is just reflect on what, in terms of takeaways, what the Governor of Central Bank has said here. About inflation, he has been very clear about the direction and even the quantum that inflation will be down substantially this year. And of course, we know what that means for exchange rate stability and even for the rate itself. So I think those are very clear takeaways that we can take from a monetary side. I'm sure we all thank him, and I'm sure we all wish him the very best in the strategies that are being implemented. And of course, we know it's a team effort. On the fiscal side, it's important to say that there is that collaboration, there is that synergy, and of course, in terms of building up oil revenue as well as non-oil revenue, the direction is clear. The achievements are already there. I won't disclose them, but I assure you the figures are going up substantially as predicted in the budget. May I just respond quickly to the issue of the funding of we call it pre-export financing. It's not just a straight loan, it's pre-export financing. It is very well priced. It is below the pricing of Nigerian Eurobonds. So it's the cheaper form of financing. It is over 5 years, and the repayment is about in addition to the principal, is about $1 billion or so, which is 200 million per year. So the figures that have been bandied, I wonder why people do that. But people that said that we are paying back 4 times the amount we borrowed, it's like saying that somebody who pledges his house for, I don't know, 400 million and borrows 100 million,
that he's going to repay 400. That's just the way I can put that scenario. Above all, let me finish by also echoing what the governor of Central Bank said about transparency. It is critical to credibility and to everything that we are doing under the able leadership of Mr. President. So you will see in due course things like this ways, the vexed ways and means, this huge figure. We will, just as the governor of Central Bank has subjected the backlog of 4 payments, he has subjected it to audit. We too will scrutinize that figure that we inherited in terms of ways and means. And likewise, as the senator said, we must ensure that the funds that NMPC earns are clear to all. They are transparently handled and they are fully accounted for. And in that direction, there will also be action taken to ensure the faithfulness in that all-important area of this country's oil revenue. Once again, Joint Chairman, distinguished senators, I thank you.
National Planning Minister.
Thank you, Chairman, and indeed all the chairmen and distinguished senators. Let me join the Coordinating Minister of the Economy in appreciating all of you. Today, despite the eagerness to confront some of the challenges that are facing us, all of you commendably our country. However, choices that are made or not made or are being made occasionally require calibration and other supportive measures in order for the gains to be felt. We feel very encouraged, and I'm sure we'll do more under the leadership of the Coordinating Minister of the Economy to take on board all the suggestions so that we will continue to interrogate what we are doing so as to deliver on the promises that have been made and on the achievement that we believe we have turned the bend and we are on our way to progress. We appreciate the urgency to do some more interventions in order to ensure that the positive effects are felt. There was a direct question on the effect on the 2024 budget. Even when the budget was brought, we appreciated that it's work in progress, just like government itself. When we brought the budget, we brought it with an exchange rate, for example, of 750. In your wisdom, you increase it. And Mr. President, graciously recognizing that democracy is a give and take, institutions matter, he accepted and signed into law. Today, exchange rates have moved because Central Bank, rightfully in the exercise of its own mandate, took some measures. And we will we are studying the effect, and will calibrate with your support as always and ensure that we respond appropriately. Exchange rate for budget purposes is computed on an average basis, not on a spot basis. We are not where we are, but we hope with all the measures that are being taken, inflation will moderate and the distortionary effects of those movements will be less. I think Senator Alero and Senator Abiru made the issue of Senator Abiru more particularly, can we use additional revenue to lower debt service? Unfortunately, when exchange rate moves, it also has consequential effect on other prices, particularly fuel prices, electricity subsidy, that we hope this will abate so that it will not even complicate the budget implementation process. But with your support, the country is turning the bend. Measures that have been taken of which the budget and economic planning has been invited to all meetings by the coordinating Minister of the Economy, both in infrastructure, agriculture, power interventions. I'm sure the results will be seen immediately. Thank you. Thank you.
Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Joint Chairman, distinguished senators. I would like to also follow suit with my elder brothers to thank you profoundly for this meeting, and we're working on this right direction to solve the food security problem of this country. I would like to highlight one very important aspect in which I did when I was here defending the budget of 2024. That is to say, we have the Malibu Agreement in which Nigeria is a co-signatory to the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program of the African Union, that agricultural provisions in the budget should be 10% of the total budget. And I think when we look at the 2024 budget, we're a far cry away from that target. We have seen other countries that have reached that, Rwanda, for instance, and that's why they are actually progressing in the agricultural field. I would like to just briefly comment on the dry season farming. Yes, we like I mentioned earlier, within the next 8 to 10 days, we should be able to roll out, and it's still a good window. We are not too late. We are not late, actually, and we should be able to make a significant impact as planned. So the other aspect is also on the issue of food reserve. I think a question was asked, are the grains available? I would say yes. The ones that we're about to release are available. And what measures are we to take in to make sure that it is not siphoned or diverted? In the past, the usual thing is either there are institutions like NEMA that are being handed over the grains because they have the poverty index of the country. They know exactly where it is needed, and they have a policy of how they transport and distribute and store before it's being distributed to the needy. So we have started working on that. We have already instructed NEMA to give us their work plan so that we can, as quickly as possible, go ahead and take possession of those stock. As you are well aware, there is a committee under the chairman of the Chief of Staff to the Mr. President that has been working since Tuesday in trying to alleviate the situation at hand. And of course, the three of us, in fact, actually 4 of us here, are all part of that committee, and together with the Minister of Defense and Information. So other programs will be rolled out as soon as possible. I'm not in a position to say some of the programs, but are in the right direction, and I'm very happy that that will, at least in the short and immediate term, take care of some of these situations. The issue of importation, I know a lot of senators have raised concerns, and I think out there also there are concerns. We are also worried about that, try to protect the local industry, the local farmers, but at the same time, we are in an emergency situation. I think it's just like somebody who is sinking, you hand him a sword, he will grab it just to come out of the water. So I think this is the situation that we find ourselves now, and it's for an interim situation, and it's not something that will be protracted over a period of time. Like I said, as soon as we start planting for the rice in the dry season, I wouldn't want to say there is hoarding, but there are speculators in the industry, and I'm sure they will start bringing out their grains and putting it into the market. And even when some of these imports start coming, there should be some kind of activity that would lessen and dampen the price of food. Thank you very much.
CBN, please don't forget the submission of your budget and the management account to the committee on banking, insurance, and other financial institutions. we expect that anytime, maybe preferably next week.
Yes, noted. Noted.
Okay, you can round up your comments.
Thank you very much. First of all, again, to thank the distinguished members for hosting us today and for the very insightful questions and comments. And to say that we've noted all of them down. A good number are things that we are working on, and I would hope that we would be in a position to revert the next time we have our parley. However, I think it may be necessary to just quickly respond on a couple of issues. One, of course, interest rates and the direction of travel on that. That is not something that we at the central bank do. We expect that once the Monetary Policy Committee kicks in, then we begin to get a greater sense from that body as to where interest rates are heading. Then on the issue of exchange rate, which has come up a number of times, and bordering on volatility of exchange rate and also value and stabilization of the exchange rate. In terms of volatility, we are using various tools to ensure that stability in terms of exchange rate happens sooner than later. And I think that is all I can say on that issue. On the issue of value of exchange rate, when is it going to go down? Well, the answer is I really can't tell you, other than to say that I do believe that once all these various measures kick in, there will be price discovery that will indeed be one that makes sense for everybody. But having said that, I think I also have to say something very important that hopefully should buttress the issue of the value of the naira and really where we all stand. And that is, as I said earlier, that is definitely not the exclusive preserve of the central bank. It is not. And we all have a responsibility in ensuring that demand and supply, we are working as much as possible on supply, but on the demand side, we do have to all moderate our various interests on that to ensure that demand begins to come to a level that is sustainable. It's sustainable. Because even if the central bank is able to moderate through tools the value of the exchange rate, if these other things don't kick in over a period of time, it may buy us relief, but we go back to the same old situation. So you have an exchange rate that is at a certain level, you are happy, you go away. But if other issues don't come in, some of which have been mentioned here today with respect to productive capacity and all that, then we're just kicking the can further down the line. I think I just want to make that clear that that is the case. I will also say something else, and that is on the issue of confidence. Because in all this, confidence is very important. I assumed responsibility in the Apex Bank a few months ago. And at that point in time, there was a crisis of confidence. And I must say that we have worked very hard and very tirelessly to ensure that that crisis of confidence has been diluted and that international investors are happier to come and invest in our economy. And I can tell you that I've seen that result play out. From the time I took office to now, I can see a much greater interest. Investors who would come, ask questions, and as you know, foreign investors, they are not emotional about these things. They ask the right questions, they've seen how things have played out in other countries, and they can tell whether you are sincere or not. And over a period of time, over these past few months, we have seen an increase in appetite for Nigeria. As a result of which, what you've seen recently, and I don't want us to take it lightly by any stretch of imagination, that the volume of trading in the foreign exchange market in the past few days has exceeded what we have seen in years. That is a solid sign of return to confidence in our economy. In addition to that, you will find out that when you look at what the rating agencies, and I know that when they come, they do also sometimes reach out to this distinguished group, they have given us a more positive outlook. Before they said, okay, we're here. Now they are saying they can see good efforts and a positive outcome into the future. I have no doubt in my mind that if we continue in this trajectory, we will bring Nigeria back to what we have lost. I have no doubt in my mind. I do accept that in the intervening period, there'll be pains. There will be pains. And this is why I took time to mention that inflation will come down significantly between now and the end of the year. I said that. I made that comment. I gave you a figure. I gave you a figure. What I will just sue for is continued cooperation with the central bank. We need all the help we can get. We are not saying that we have all the answers. We don't. And where we are falling short, we are very happy to be told we are and seeing how we can up the game. We know and we fully appreciate our responsibility to Nigerians. But I also want Nigerians to understand the responsibilities to themselves. Okay, it's not, if you're just looking at the central bank alone, there is a limit to what we can do. We can't do everything. It's a joint collaborative effort, which I'm confident that if we do well, we will get out of the very difficult situation we are in. Already, the signs are showing a positive outcome. So thank you very much for hosting us today, and I look forward to the next event.
It has been quite a long time, about 3.5 hours. I want to seize the opportunity to thank and appreciate the comments of all the distinguished senators. I also appreciate the presence and patience of our guests, the honorable ministers. I also appreciate and express our gratitude to the distinguished ladies and gentlemen who attended this session. This is just the beginning. I think going forward, we shall continue to engage ourselves so that we can find some viable solutions to the challenges that face this nation. Thank you once again, and I wish everyone fruitful journey to your offices and other respective destinations. I know the Minister of Agriculture wants to travel to Kano. I wish you a very safe flight and journey masses. Thank you and God bless.